Previously on Follow the Leader.
Today we're playing Anyone Can Wear the Mask by Jeff Stormer. For those of you who are new to this game, well, how about we let Jeff tell you?
Anyone Can Wear the Mask is a role-playing game for 1 to 3 players about a superhero, a supervillain, and the city that they share. Throughout play, you record the adventures of a great hero as they defend their city, they stand up to those in power, and eventually confront a terrible nemesis. You'll draw maps, roll dice, pull cards from a deck, and make a living record of the city, its people, and the person chosen to defend them. Given that the sort of like tonal, the reference points that we have been talking about, I think somewhere between a bustling borough and like a metropolis, like a modestly to largely sized city. I like it being large enough that it is, whiz-bang, for lack of a better way to put it.
It's got a skyline.
It's got a skyline, but it's not so much that it is like globally important. It is an old enough town that the founders of that community can see what it has become and have opinions on it.
I hit on the notion of how darkness and shadows are always seen as a really negative thing and tend to have that association. And I really liked the idea of somebody whose power set is based around working from the shadows and darkness. Pronouns she, they. Hero alias is Nyx, NYX.
I think Vantage Technologies is, they're being part of the dynasty of the city. They're like, oh, well, we've got enormous grants that we've given to the police and the fire department and just the city's emergency services. And so they're like constantly coming up with new ways to kind of leverage that influence.
Our next card is the 3 of Diamonds. We are back in the docks. And what is, so we are back in the docks. The docks have been marked by the hand of the Vantage Corporation. So I think this is a fully automated robotic fishery. I think bucket, like truck, or like, crates of fish are being like ripped open by robot arms, and like the fish is being processed, and there are like lab technicians walking up and down like checking on things. I'm going to throw in the detail because this has been such a running thing in the docks specifically. There is a union strike happening outside because the deployment of this factory like violates some labor contracts, and like I think that it was a like unlawful there was an unlawful like layoff on behalf of Vantage of like several unionized employees that are now striking. And so there's like a union movement happening outside. Tensions are very high. The lab technicians are just kind of like walking up and down the aisle, like checking things on their tablets. And something is going to happen here. Zach, what is it?
We now return to your game already in progress.
So, there is the lab technicians are kind of walking up and down the it's like an automatic fishery. Is it fish processing or just fish like
fish processing? Like they are processing
Yeah.
fish for commercial distribution. So they're like skinning and scaling the fish and things like that.
Cool. So there's like a like a conveyor belt of fish, and it suddenly like kind of grinds to a halt. And the technician is like, huh? And looks at it, and the fish looks like turns like a big mouth Billy Bass, and looks at him and says, "You have sold your soul," and then just starts to
I don't like that.
sing. What's a bizarre and off-putting song for a fish to sing?
Any song.
Yeah, I mean any, yeah.
Yeah, I like that you're like this one's if there are songs that if a fish says to me you sold your soul and starts singing it, I'm gonna go, this is a fairly normal, this is not creepy and unnerving.
Mm-hmm. Boy.
What if it's like Beyond the Sea? Somewhere beyond the sea.
I actually think it's a Highway to Hell.
Oh my god, fine.
It starts to sing Highway to Hell, and then every fish on the conveyor belt flips and starts to sing it again, and the sound here just becomes so overwhelmingly loud, with the aim of like running off the lab technicians.
That's very good. And I think that there is it's a level of being trapped, for lack of there's an immediate sense of the lab technician's immediate response is like, well, fuck this. And start to run. And then they stare outside of the factory, outside of these big garage doors where there is a strike happening. They're like, do we get gutted by the fish or by the Yoon?
The fish begin to swim through the air, and it's like, what's worse, a picket line or the pits of Tartarus?
These Union lines, I really don't know. And I think looking back and forth is when we're gonna have some dice get rolled. And I think what it is specifically, I'm gonna ask you, Zach, this. What is how is Usher Ackerman's presence in the city or presence in the docks complicating this moment and making it more difficult for Nyx to do their job and for her to save people in this situation? What's the added complication that is going to make this more difficult for Nyx?
I think that Usher, this is obviously he bought this fishery. He made this this, which means that it's got vantage technology, security, which is maybe Nyx can teleport through shadow, so isn't maybe but these guys actually, when an emergency came down, they might just be locked in the building.
Okay, I like that. I like that a lot. I like that
it's
a lot.
Fully locked down, and they are not actually able to leave.
So I think that they're backing away and they're freaking out, and then the door closes and alarms start sirening, and they're like, security measures activated. Please remain calm and stay where you are and stay working. All things will be addressed. Please note your weekly quotas are not to be impacted due to this disruption. Our security measures will take care of things. You are free to focus on your work as normal. We appreciate your commitment to the Vantage family.
Incredible. I think the fish stop at that point and look up at the intercom and says, "Damn, that's cold."
I get. You see one or two of the scientists Okay, like go back and like start typing and like looking back at the fish like
The fish are all just hanging in the air and staring at them.
I gotta respond to this email. I'm gonna mark tentative on our weekly scrum.
All right, and so we roll for.
Yep. Give me. Normally this would be 2d6, but because of the presence of an enemy, you are rolling 1d6.
All right. A 2.
A 2. That means that this is messy. Let me read the exact phrasing. Hero, you managed to stop the threat, but it's messy. How do you stop the threat? What goes wrong along the way, and either take an injury or cause collateral damage?
What does collateral damage mean, mechanically speaking?
Collateral damage means that you flip the top card off of the deck, and it is considered to be destroyed. The big mechanical impact of that is if it is a card that could help you, then you no longer have access to it. Like if it is an ace or a jack or a queen. The other possibility is it means that we are one card closer to the reveal of the Joker.
Yeah. All right. I think I'll go with the injury then.
All right. And so what an injury means mechanically is you roll one fewer die on every action until you have an opportunity to recover that injury, which you can do by spending inspiration or by flipping a face card and taking some downtime where you're not doing hero shit to recover.
Mm-hmm. Would I have gotten another point of renown from the last thing?
Yes, your renown is currently, I want to say 4.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, your renown is currently 4.
Right. Well, how is this messy? There are a lot of fish here, is the thing. Lot of seemingly possessed fish. This is new. What even does this look like? I guess I'll put this to Zach, as this is a threat you devised.
Mm-hmm.
Is this... How much of a presence has the Coven had in the city before now?
Probably not a huge amount. This might be the first time that you've interacted with them.
All right.
Depending.
No, I like that. So this is... Nyx is going to have to arrive... It's going to have to be into something because I imagine, like, with all the alarms blaring, the lights, like, all the floodlights are on. So, like, there's not going to be much in the way of patches of shadow. So I've got to appear in something and then break out of it. Maybe it's just, like, a vat of, like, it's... Coolidge or cold storage, but it's like just water, because it's for fish, right? And just like heave myself out of this tank of water. It's just like fucking Vantage security measures, and hook myself out of it and drop down and like, what the actual fuck? As I take in the sight of all these fish staring at these lab techs who are trying not to make eye contact as they go about their admin.
I think the fish all swivel to look at you,
and
then speaks. One of them speaks and says, "Oh, thank chaos." And they all begin to swirl into like shapes. And they transform into 3 older women, played by the trio, the Meryl Streep and the other 2 from Mamma Mia, but in like witchy garb.
Okay, so Meryl Streep, Christine Baranski, and Julie Walters. Very good.
Yes, but like dressed as witches.
Yes, very important.
The speed with which you did that made me very happy. I need that note.
Yeah.
Look,
Um,
I love Mamma Mia.
I mean, I adore Mamma Mia. Like, dude, like I believe it is noted how much we both enjoy that film, and so that did just make my day.
mm,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right, so I looking at these three women who look suspiciously like the actresses Meryl Streep, Christine Baranski, and Julie Walters, and I'm like, can I help you, ladies?
Yes. Oh my goodness, it's you. Finally,
It's-
we meet.
It's me, and you are.
They pose Ananke, Erebus, Gaia, and your Nyx are Forgotten Fourth.
Is that right?
Yes, it's been so long since. Well, you're new, so you haven't worn the mantle long, but you know the primordial gods see fit to bestow their power upon the mortals.
Uh-huh. And okay, this is a lot to process, ladies. I'm just gonna go over to. Please, if you could just wait just a moment. Are you two okay here to the left, Hex? Can I?
Oh,
Help.
Gaia, who is the short one, says, "Oh no, they have to leave. We've got to get out of here. This is an affront to Mother Earth."
We would love to leave, but it's also going to be bad if we go outside.
And the doors are locked.
Also, I don't know if you hear the sirens, but it's going to be bad if we don't continue to work either. It's really just not a great situation.
Rocking a hard place.
Kinda rocking
Point
like
to two.
several consistent rocks, all pointing in every possible direction, and also they're sharp and pointy.
Right.
Sharp and point. I can do that. Erebus summons a javelin made of darkness.
I don't think that's what we need right now. Tell you what. Do you two know anywhere dark that you could be right now? You lovely lab techs. I assume.
I mean,
the
I could
codes.
make it dark, and like hits 3 buttons, and all of the lights turn off, but the sirens and alarms are
that's
still
fine.
going. But it's
Okay,
just
I
also
think-
dark inside, so there's like a strobe light effect. Does that help? Is that what you're looking for?
Right. Pick up your things, and I'm just gonna sort of grab hold of them, and I seem to get bigger as we step into a shadowy patch, and I'm just gonna shunt these two lab techs out to the back of the building, the other side from the picket line, and just be like, I'm gonna talk to the fish women. Please leave. Take your computers with you. I'm gonna deal with that.
Work from home day?
Call it that. Yeah.
Yeah!
Clockable hours.
All right!
They just sort of step back in, just like, okay, ladies,
Yes.
chaos?
Chaos. Yes. The primordial source of all magic and everything else.
Naturally.
So did you get rid of the nerds? Says Erebus.
I mean, they're out of the building.
Wonderful. She summons a big axe made of pure darkness and just starts smashing things.
I feel like I should stop this, says Nick's leaning against the wall. Just sort of like,
Oh, it's an affront to the earth.
I don't disagree.
Yes, and
Ah,
my nephew lost his job, so, you know, 2 birds.
okay.
It's interesting that you haven't... your magic, you seem to only use it to step between the realms.
I do other things.
Oh. Things are exploding in the background.
I reach into a patch of shadow and pull it out. and like, yeah, God, because the tone we were talking about, I pull like a patch of shadow and I blow into it like one's inflating a balloon, and I make like a balloon animal out of pure shadow.
Cute. This is Erebus from the background, who is continuing to dismantle the building.
I didn't think of it as I've not been doing this that long, and I'm not sure what I should. I was just protecting people. Can you stop? I don't want to bring the building down. There's picketers outside. Ladies, please.
She like freezes with her. It's the Christine Baranski one, who's the one who's swinging a big axe made of darkness.
Yes. Incredible
I don't know
form,
why. Thank
but...
you. Boy, you're getting injured at some point in this scene.
I think it's got to be because I'm not immune to slapstick. I think the chopping with the heavy literally just causes a piece of machinery to drop down, and I just get like sliced along, just like ladies, please, and then just something just like falls, and you know that sort of step to one side, just like don't get crushed by, but then look, there's just like blood pouring, and I was just like, oh, you should have stepped further.
Oh my. You're going to want to put pressure on that, and we're going to put pressure on this.
I'm just gonna piece out this. Like, this is a problem for future Nyx to deal with. Just stress that they don't mess with the structural integrity of the building, please. And just like head home to like try and stitch my arm up by myself. It's like, ow.
Poor Nyx, you just got fully bamboozled by these ladies.
I'm sorry, but if the seasoned darling actresses of Mamma Mia appeared to me and started destroying machinery, I would just be fully flummoxed and not know what to do with myself, let alone if they were trying to explain an essential part of my selfhood to me.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I'm reacting to that, if I'm being frank. So you've taken a point of injury.
Yeah.
Which means that for future rolls, you are going to roll one fewer dice until you have an opportunity. You can recover that. You can have a scene of recovery that immediately, as you have some points of inspiration. Otherwise, we will draw our next card.
For the record, I want to establish they believe that that's the source of your powers. That does not have to actually be the source of your powers.
Yeah. That's that was sort of what I was vibing with. But thank you for the clarity. I think
they do destroy the building, but they make sure it doesn't fall on anybody.
Okay, cool. Brilliant. I'll see how the next scene goes before I deal with this injury, I think.
All right. Well, let's draw our next card. And this is our Joker.
Fuck me briefly.
Right before.
This is our Joker. This is our downfall. It is here that the hero is confronted at last by the villain, who makes themselves known by striking deep at the heart of the hero. There is a battle that happens. Lives are lost, destruction spreads, and hero, you are beaten back, at least for now. You will come back. Heroes always do. But this is your downfall. We begin by breaking down the moment that the villain emerges and that the moment triumphs. The way that we do that and the way that we get to know who our villain is by answering a series of questions. Hero, answer the following questions. What piece of yourself most scares you, and how do you see that amplified in the villain?
I think it's that uncertainty of what she can do and the scope of it. It's very like, if you look into the abyss long enough, something's going to look back at you. And that awareness of, and I think especially with the words of the Coven, just like your belly scratching the surface of what you can do. And it's that unknowableness. And I think that being amplified by the villain, it is that opposition. Like, wherever there is the thing that banishes darkness is light, and light can be all encompassing, and like the sun is how we have anything. And it's that, again, scale of magnitude and knowing what this villain is capable of. And what does that say about me? Am I a counterpoint to him? And it is that unknowable, like, what could I do? What am I capable of?
And what weakness are you afraid will be discovered, and how does the villain use it?
I mean, in a mechanical sense, like, if there is no darkness around, I am literally just a person who's pretty fit and good at fighting. That's, like, feels like the most...
That feels good.
...realistic thing to point out, yeah.
All right, and so now I, as the city, answer the following questions. What part of the hero most scares you, and how is the villain the worst version of that? I think the thing that I would point to about Nyx, I think the thing that is frightening about Nyx is very... It feels like always a razor's edge away from being on the other side, from being on the side of those who would cause harm. Like, it's a good thing about Nyx as a person, like from the reader's perspective. But I think there are people in the city, especially those who are more aligned with the Ackerman family, like the worst people in the city would look at Nyx and be like, well, they're just barely above. Like, they're accepting business cards from henchman unions and having long conversations with supervillain groups. Like, they're not. Like, there's a sense of I think that is a generational shift. There is a generational view of what a hero is supposed to be. And Nyx is not that. Like, there is a sense of, like, almost might makes right that Nyx does not necessarily ascribe to.
Yeah.
And I think that...
And even, like, the aesthetics is so easy to, like, I mean, hiding your identity, working in the shadows. Like, good people don't do that.
Yeah, like, there's that. And then, so I think...
trying to hide?
I think that the villain is the worst version of that because, like... We also know that Nyx is like all of those things. Nyx is the good embodiment of all of those things. This is the Nyx that people are afraid of. Like, this is the concocted image that people have constructed. And the biggest fear for the city is that the Ackermans are going to win. It is that, you know, there is this large movement of people looking out for each other. A big thing in Ackerman City is people, whether they wear a cape and costume or whether they are an ordinary person, there's a large culture of people looking out for each other, and there is also a large culture of people with money and large plans for the city looking to enact their will upon the city, and the fear is that those people will crush out the spirit of the former. And I think that is that kind of lack of, or that ruthlessness, that willingness to not look after your fellow people was something that is embodied in the villain. And so now we ask our villain, what power do you crave and how are you going to seize it?
Okay, boy. That's a good... I mean... Control of the city. I don't know exactly if it's how this game works, but I've been imagining, kind of formulating who the villain is this whole time.
Yeah.
Which is Lucian, who is also Mr. Brilliance, who got foiled last time. But, I mean, he's the youngest of the Ackermans, the one with the smallest amount of, like, social clout and political power, which is why he was running for mayor and why he's still running for mayor, while also stoking the flames of, like, fear as a supervillain.
Yeah.
and he is bright where Nyx is shadowy, and it's wholly convinced of his everything, whereas Nyx is dealing with like a lot of doubt, and he has never doubted himself. And so he is going to, through on every battlefield and in every like theater, he is going to control the city. He's going to be the kingpin and the mayor. He can have it all, because that's.
I like that. I really love that a lot. Okay.
That's so fun.
Next question: what insurmountable odds will the hero have to overcome to defeat you?
I just realized this is when Norman Osborn becomes president.
Yes,
that's what this is. What insurmountable? Military police.
Yep, sure.
Martial law. It's like there's going to be a whatever this like pop off is between Mr. Brilliance and Nyx. It ends with Lucian being like, "Hey, as in my new role, we need to bring this city to law. Obviously, Nyx has been unable to do so, so I am going to institute martial law in the city of Ackerman City."
Love it. Love it a lot.
It's like
I don't know, like this would be out of character knowledge, and Jeff, you could veto this question and say that. Do the other Ackermans know?
No. That's the vibe of the game. Ask away. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do his siblings know?
No, he's trying to take over. No, he's trying to crush his siblings.
Gotcha.
Which is why he stole the boat instead of like going any other way about it. He wants to take things from them. So I guess that could be the thing. Like, yeah, the city is what he is like. His method, but like what he actually wants is to be the last man standing in his family, the only one that they remember.
Beautiful.
And finally, what hidden weakness do you hope the hero never finds?
Oh, boy. That I think it's that he just doesn't have. He's very scared of being normal and like failing, and his like all of his powers and stuff are not like, that's all like super science, like gadgets and stuff. He doesn't have any superpowers. As much as he like shows himself off as like, oh, I'm like a living god, I've got a sun for a head, none of that is real. That's all smoke and mirrors and like powerful technology that he's like embezzled from the company. And Nyx has real superpowers.
I love that. I really love that. That's great.
Very cool.
Okay, so now we've gotten to know our villain. So finally, villain, Zach, introduce your villain in all of your terrible glory. Describe your powers equal in measure to the hero, and show what happens when that battle comes and you overpower the hero, and then we will go through what happens next.
Okay, so I think what happens is, unable to steal the intergalactic defender, Mr. Brilliance is like, you know what? I don't need it, and I'm going to prove how I don't need it by destroying it. It starts with a bombing run on. It's just a bombing of the USS Intergalactic Defender. Before he's like, Nyx, if you'd let me just take it, people were off of the boat. This all could have been avoided. Just had to be stingy, and now it happens when there are people on board, and the boat is like sinking in the harbor with like a full like amount of people on board. It's probably where it begins with Nyx trying like to save the people on board, like hopping in through shadows and like pulling people out and like just running up and down the decks trying to make sure you get everybody off as it like snaps in half, and it's the fucking it's the subway scene in Spider-Man 2, of like this crazy insurmountable disaster that you're trying to avert. And as that's happening, he is going from the docks through Factory Harbor up into Vantage Hill to like besiege the Vantage Tower, to like prove like that Usher Ackerman has been in the background, like working to like technologize the city and like bring it to the future. And it's like, well, you've failed, and this is not how this works. Was there another question I needed to answer in all of that description?
No. All you just need to really like emphasize, like, this is just, you know, this is your moment to describe sort of the villain's ascendancy and sort of establish the new status quo for how we go into the end stage of the game.
Yeah. So it's like,
also, can we get a full description of like, if we saw Mr. Brilliance very briefly before, like from the back, like a full like, what does he look like when he's in full?
Yeah. So he's just like tall, in an immaculate white suit, with white gloves. His head, there's like, it's like got like a hologram projector around it that makes it look like he has the sun for a head. It's so bright that it's hard to look at. Like whenever he's on camera, there's like a crazy like lens flare, and he's got these like, they're like drones, like cloaked drones that have these cannons, so he can just like point at people and like just beams of hot light, like laser beams, just fire out of the sky, or like, you know, so it looks like he's like can like pull down the sun and just like shoot people with like fire and light, but it's all like, you know, smoke and mirrors, like technological illusions. Like, so no one ever sees his face because it's so bright. He's got these guys with these like reflective masks, who are his henchmen, and like the drones can like do different, like they've got this whole panoply of like reflective surfaces on them, so he can like do like blind people or just blast them away. And so like it's like the sun is walking through the city. Yeah, and he's on this like floating like a hover platform with all of his goons on it, just like making like doing like almost a parade through the city, to like showcase how truly like fallible and pathetic the current state of affairs is.
Fuck yeah. Okay.
Very, very cool.
Then what we're going to do now is I'm going to take this deck of cards. Actually, Zach, I'm going to have you do something. What are your... let me just confirm something real quick. This is the meanest mechanic of the game.
Okay.
Let me remind myself. Okay, Zach, can you pull the top 4 cards off of the deck as Nyx's Renown is 4? We'll go ahead and flip all these cards.
Oh, fuck off. Fuck off!
We have the Ace of Diamonds, the Ace of Hearts, the 2 of Hearts, and the 7 of Spades. I'm going to select all of these cards, and I'm going to remove them.
Jeff, that's so mean. You explained what... You said...
These cards are destroyed. For every point of renown that you get, 1 card is taken off the top of the deck and destroyed. They can never... Even if we were... So, in theory, if you play a full deck game of Anyone Can Wear the Mask, where the Joker is guaranteed to be in the bottom half of the deck of cards, you would... There's a pretty decent chance that you will draw... That you will be like... When you start discarding cards, you discard more cards than are in the remainder of the deck. So there's like a mechanic for shuffling some cards back together to build the deck for the second half of the game. Whatever cards you discard in that moment do not get shuffled back in. That is just irreparable harm to the city, and people are lost that can never be recovered. You know,
so actually, I just thought of one last thing that happened.
Please.
Because it's we went from, you know, this was to be your greatest triumph, and now it is your greatest defeat. We have this one shot of Mr. Brilliance on his floating like sun like hover platform at the V where his brother's office is, and we get this shot of Usher Ackerman just kind of squinting like he's looking at the sun. And if this was a comic book, it would be like he had this tiny little bubble that says Luke, and then a wide panel of the top of the building just exploding.
Sick as hell.
I love that. And so with that, we have discarded some cards off the top of the deck. So what happens now is that the world reels from the battle. These scars change the landscape of the city forever. City, I'm going to take a moment of silence to mourn my losses. Hero, you're going to take a moment of silence to deal with your failure. And Villain, you're going to let the city and Hero have their moment and then hand the deck of cards back to the city. And so when I'm ready, I will take the remaining Joker and place it in front of the Hero. This represents the uprising. This is your decision to come back, move forward, make it right, and rise to the occasion. I tell you why I need you and why I believe in you. I think this is... Where do we find Nyx when she is at... Where do we find Nyx or Rhiannon when she is at her lowest?
I think there is a small observatory on the university campus, and she is hiding out there, and the roof of it is fully open. It's nightfall, and there seems to be no stars in the sky. There's no moon. And there is no peace for her that she would normally get looking up. Because this used to be like the place to go to feel safe, to look up at the stars and like, I'm a part of something much bigger than me, and that's a good thing. And now it's just like, no, you're on your own, Chief. And that sort of oppressiveness of feeling like you were supposed to do one thing and you fucked up.
And in this moment of solitude, you hear the doorway to that observatory open, and there is a moment of intense, what's even the word? Defensiveness? You know what I mean? Like there's this sense of like danger, right? Of anxiety of like the door has opened. There is someone here. You look over your shoulder. And just in time to like barely dodge the steel thermos of coffee that has been underhanded tossed at you, and like you narrowly dodge it colliding with your face.
Good shit.
And standing in front of you, hands in their pockets, is Charlie Zamir, just like, so you gonna get back to work or what?
I unscrew the cap of the coffee thermos.
It is pitch black. It is, there is it is pitch black. It is the gourmet of gourmet coffee. And it is the most bitter thing that you have ever tasted in your life.
I smell it. My nose wrinkles a little bit. For Cody, they do take their coffee black, but they put a lot of sugar in it.
So I think they see your nose wrinkle, and again, just like we saw with the thermos of coffee, there is like a similar ducking as just a handful of sugar packets flies in your direction.
Yeah. I do. Okay, so I sort of like I start dumping sugar into the thermos, cap it back up, shake it furiously, and uncork it again.
Charlie pulls out of a messenger bag like a 20-ounce Dr. Pepper and cracks it and just chugs half of it in an instant. So I'm going to ask again, you going to get back to work or not?
Was there ever any doubt in your mind as I chug an upsetting amount of coffee very quickly and sort of go up to them and just sort of like let my forehead thump against theirs?
And they just like, they mutter. We got action teams moving on all of the major parks. We got surveying teams ensuring that people get food and supplies. I'm not going to talk to you about what the rifle associations are up to, because that's frankly better if you don't know where people are going to be stationed if you need them. But, and I think chugs the other half of this 20 ounce.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't slept in about 2 days, so I'm going to crash very soon, but we've been working. We're where you need us to be. You give the word. You give the word and we mobilize. You know that, right?
I smile and say, yeah, I do. You know you're the real hero, right?
I mean, only one of us is wearing a mask. I'm somebody with I get a job and a paycheck. You're doing this for the good of your heart or to fulfill some kind of mythical quest. I don't know. I never really asked. I figure you've got your deal.
Sure, let's say that. Thank you.
You need to slouch for a little bit more?
No, I think I'm good.
I'm going to take a slouch. And then we'll
You've got to need to burp as well. Like, that was a lot of Dr. Pepper.
And we get a shot of the outside of the observatory, the loudest burnt onomatopoeia, and then that is the end of the issue.
Fuck yeah.
And
Beautiful.
with that, we start the second half of the game. How this is going to, well, this is also a check-in moment on mic and off mic for my two good friends. There are two things that we can do right now. We can play through a little bit more of the game, drawing cards off the top of the deck as normal, and kind of explore how the city looks different and how Nyx saves people in this new environment, and kind of show the wounds of the city and the influence of the villain in action.
Mm-hmm.
Until we theoretically flip the Joker or declare that it's time for the Uprising. Or we can skip straight to the Uprising, whatever feels right for our story.
I think it would be fun to draw a couple more cards, see if we can't get another face or two.
I was thinking like one or two more. I'm thinking we'll probably have time for like 2 more cards and then the wrap up.
That sounds good to me.
So with that, I'm going to draw our next card. This is the 9 of Hearts, so we find ourselves back in the vibe. And so now we're going to talk about like how the vibe and how this space has changed in the wake of Mr. Brilliance's takeover.
Mm-hmm.
I love this is the only number that Zach hadn't assigned a threat to yet.
Yes.
That's very good.
but I got one, which is
I believe it.
The cops are here. They're like full on SWAT, but like just patrolling. They're in their Jeeps and their big trucks. Just like there are like big grayscale posters of Usher Ackerman's face all over the place, like in memoriam. The mayor, Lucian Ackerman, did, of course, in the wake of his brother's tragic passing, has mobilized the city police and empowered them to keep our city safe in the wake of Mr. Brilliance's dastardly attack on the city. And so, there's just like where there once were beat cops, there are now riot cops.
And I am going to bring some. I'm gonna throw a very large swing. I think that this gives me a good picture of like how our neighborhood has changed, because I think that I'm also gonna throw in a character here or throw in like a faction here that has burned as a result of this. This is Thought Crime. Thought Crime is a new faction that has emerged. Specifically, there is a schism within the Free Thought Collective.
Sure.
This is a small group of the Free Thought Collective realized that, like, you know how, like, there's those three friends that you have that came out of like a hipster circle, and they are the smartest people that you know. That's Thought Crime. Thought Crime are like, when all of this happened, there was a sense in the Free Thought Collective, like there was an argument that erupted in the Free Thought Collective, like, so we're gonna stop this, right? That's us. This is what we've been pushing for this entire time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
and Asher was like, wait.
That's
crazy.
That was the whole point of all of this, was for in case this happened.
Mm-hmm.
And the members of Thought Crime, like, have taken to active shows of resistance to push against that. This is in a small community amphitheater in the Vibe, and they have organized I think one of the members of Thought Crime, which is what is the name of the illusion caster in the Free Thought Initiative?
The illusion caster.
They have like audio visual illusion powers.
Oh boy.
Are they just called Bad Trip?
Oh my
I like
God.
Bad Trip.
Yeah, that's great.
Bad Trip.
Yeah.
Bad Trip has like organized like a light show, a political themed light show display to like get people out in the streets protesting, and the cops are like rolling up on this space.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there are several other members of Thought Crime, like costume members of Thought Crime, in and about, as well as like a group of protesters that are like building steam very quickly, and it is going to escalate in a very dangerous way.
Mm-hmm. Hell yeah.
Tight.
So, roll me 3d6. Roll me 3d6, and then Zach, describe to me how the action starts to go down before Nyx arrives.
Okay, that's a 5. I think that it's like, the cops are like, like, okay, this was funny last week. Now you're starting to cause problems. I need everybody to disperse. And one of the Thought Crime guys were like, somebody throws a bottle and it just erupts from there. And it's just, a wave of wait, do we have police brutality on our?
We do not. It's good to check in, but I think probably like I would like a light veil on it, but like not like but like I think portraying it as a thing is not on my list.
Yeah, and like so mostly what we see on screen is like the members of the of Thought Crime fighting the cops, but in like the background and in the periphery and the edges of those shots, you see like the just full on like riot suppression, like activity.
And so that is a 5, which means that
despite the fact that most people here were just like students doing their thing, but it sounds like everybody here is guilty.
Yeah, and that is where Nyx, you arrive on the scene. How are you helping the situation and saving the people in danger?
I think visually it echoes the first scene that we saw. It's a group of people, it's a conflict happening, but there was a sort of almost playful demeanor to that first scene, whereas this, we see Nyx or step out, just out from a building, but there is a light behind them as something is set ablaze, as so often is the case, and her shadow stretches out in front of her, and it gets bigger and bigger, and then it sort of steps up off the ground. And as Nick sort of steps into it, it's like almost like stepping into like a small mech or something like that, and she becomes bigger
Mm-hmm.
as she's wrapped in her own enlarged shadow, as she silently, and not just silent in the sense that she doesn't say anything, but she makes no sound
Mm-hmm.
as she wades into this guy and is literally just pulling people away, taking these hits, and is just spreading everybody out. And again, it is that separating people, but there's this vibe as she spreads out and the shadow sort of seeps out that people become almost stuck in it, like they're hip deep in water, and they are forcibly slowed. And as the shadow spreads, it's like being caught up in water, and people are pushed away and apart from each other. And they get this, everyone there gets this sense in their head of being told enough. And it's this moment that lets these students, these various children, run.
Mm-hmm.
And as people choose not to, if these riot cops decide, no, you don't get to decide that, I think then we get a shot from their, like a shot of them, like a panel in the comic, of just something getting bigger and bigger and bigger in front of them as all light is cancelled out and they are swamped in darkness. And the next panel is just completely black and we just see screaming.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
Yes, yes. And the final thing that we see is the park is abandoned, the amphitheater is empty. You're standing there for a moment, and there are 3 people in sort of superhero costumes, but like kind of the Grant Morrison new X-Men superhero costumes, where it's a lot of like leather.
Oh, so bad.
All right, well, this has been great. I no longer consent to any of this audio being used or released, but like,
Well, I might be mixing up I'm thinking of New Mutants. Their graduation costumes.
oh yeah, no, I mean the Grant the
yeah.
leather jacket aesthetic and the a lot of like.
Oh no, that's the best X-Men.
The streetwear, the street gear outfits is like kind of the aesthetic.
Oh no, yes, that's me showing my ass because I was thinking of the New Mutants.
This one in the voice text channel? This vibe?
Let me confirm. Yeah, that's my jam. That's my beloved. I love those jackets
is
so
that
much.
Beast on the left?
Yes, that is Beast on the
Yeah.
left. He had a secondary mutation that turned him into
Yeah.
even more of a Catman.
Sick.
But
yes, these 3 younger folks
in masks
cool
and like jackets. And I think one of them, who is Bad Trip? Bad Trip. She steps forward and she's like, "Where do you need us, and how can we help?" And I think we end the turn there. Frankly,
Yeah, thank you. I don't have to reply there.
I think the closing note is just like, "Where do you need us, and how can we help?"
Love that.
And we're gonna flip our next card. So we arrive. Our next card is the Queen of Clubs, and we arrive somewhere personal. You, hero, have a responsibility, but you also have a life. There's a person behind the mask, and that person has friends, loved ones, people that can count on them. At this moment, you find yourself in one of those moments with someone you care about that knows the real you. And this is Clubs. This is someone connected to your family and or upbringing. So, we're gonna describe this moment together. We're going to get some aspects and some elements of your life, and we're going to introduce a person close to you. Who pops into your head when you imagine someone tied to Rhiannon's family, upbringing, life outside of the mask?
I think who this is this is the person who was Rhiannon's roommate at first year of uni, of college, and is the person that supported Rhiannon as she began her transition,
Mm-hmm.
and is like, it's not that she has a bad relationship with her family, but it is that found
Sure.
family. And this person is the first person she found of that new family. Okay, this it's a non-binary person, uses ze pronouns. Stevie is their name, because they bonded over their shared love of Fleetwood Mac.
Sure.
Stevie Nicks is Queen. Just a full-on like deep dark brown skin, beautifully kept fro, that they streak with white whenever they feel like it, when they feel like being extra.
Mm-hmm.
And is probably a science major, and is like this person definitely knows that Rhiannon is Nyx and Nyx is Rhiannon as well. This is one of the few people that do know.
I was about to ask that question. I was waiting.
Yeah. It's like Stevie has known every part of Rhiannon, of Nyx, and it's like it feels anathema to her as a person to not have Stevie know that.
I think the two of you meet. I think the two of you are rock climbing together.
Hell yeah.
I think that is where this moment is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like this moment before the uprising, you are on top of one of the walls of your rock climbing gym.
This is just like that one fucking scene in The Princess Diaries.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Good.
Stevie Z is scrambling to make it up this wall. Z is not as comfortable rock climbing as you are, and you've chosen a wall that is outside of their immediate comfort range.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm just like, I've gotten to the top and I have hooked myself safely into place, and I'm like sat hanging upside down, leaning against the wall, just looking upsettingly comfortable. Big Spider-Man energy, but I'm just like sat cross-legged but upside down.
One
against
arm
the wall.
like haphazardly slaps onto the top of the wall. The other one, as he pulls themselves up. Oh, ow. How do you?
No, you could do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still not convinced you didn't do some kind of shadow power thing to get up here, because I don't know how you aren't like this. Ugh.
I mean, there is so much sweat in my ass crack right now. Like, don't think. I know I make it look easy.
Ow. Ow.
I like reach up. I sort of like I right myself up and I reach over the wall and like pull out a couple of cans of just something cold and slap one into her hand. Their hand, sorry.
I don't know about you, but I needed that.
The climb or the can of drink?
6 of one, half dozen the other. How are you doing?
Shit.
Good, or like
like
you don't want to talk about it good?
I don't know how to talk about it. That makes sense. Like,
well, let me put it this way. Anybody that makes it up this wall is probably too dehydrated to retain a lot of memories. Whatever you're gonna say, I've had at least a couple years to process the weirdness of it.
True.
And also, you're my family and I love you. So, say it however you want to say it, and it'll be alright.
Alright. I sort of like run my hand. My hair is like up, it's like braided back, so I can't really run my hands through it, but I run my hand like over it. I don't know how to fix this without losing something of myself to it. And like, I know life is about change and growth, and like, a person cannot step in the same river twice, all that. But he's something else, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm going to fix this, if I'm going to beat him, then I think I have to be something else too. And I like who I am. I fought really hard to be this.
I mean, this is pretty great. As your friend and your friend and trusted advisor in all matters.
Yes.
This is pretty great. But
There it is. Yep.
I mean, I wasn't just gonna leave it at that. Can you imagine what a terrible?
I didn't.
Can you imagine what a terrible friend I would be if I just left it?
That would be. It would be shit.
Yeah, it would be bad.
The fun was coming. Yeah.
I remember a time when this was all started that there were pretty similar concerns that you were going to lose something then too, when shadow stuff started happening, and you know, I remember pretty similar concerns then. And now you're someone and something that you like. Maybe accepting that change, as painful as it is, and as painful as that, and with the grief that comes with that, is not necessarily purely a bad thing. And for the parts of it that are, and I think Z kind of like smiles, and we get like a single panel of a Vantage Corporation like ID card in their duffel bag.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there are people that can offload some of those painful parts for you. You know, I guess my question for you: do you alone have to take on the ugly work of stopping all of this? That's a lot for one person to bear, even someone with whatever the hell it is that you got going on.
Yeah.
But it might be a small amount for a lot of people to bear. And maybe all of those people have to give up something, but maybe they have to give up a lot less than you giving up what makes you this on your own. Maybe there is a way to have this in the world that comes after this.
Well, thank fuck one of us is smart.
This is why I'm your advisor in all things.
I get this, yeah. I'll make sure you get that Christmas bonus we've been talking about.
Finally. You know they cancel Christmas bonuses at work?
What the fuck?
And I think Z steps forward and gets real close. That's why I want you to kick the living dog shit out of this weirdo before it gets any worse, and they cancel my yearly merit increase. You feel me?
I feel you. And I just sort of like wrap her up into a hug and sort of like push us off the wall to get back down.
And with that, we come to our uprising.
All right.
So, this is the moment. It has all led to this. The hero is back in the villain's place of power, having refused to stand down and accept defeat. Their losses hang heavy in the air, but it is time to finish this. The downfall is over. It is time for the uprising. We begin with the villain. Describe your place of power at the height of your glory. Describe the insurmountable odds that the hero has to face, and note how the hero failed to stop you last time. Describe the power that you have and the power you seek. Note how often the hero has failed, and name the people they couldn't save. And ask the hero why they think they can change things now.
Okay. So, Have you figured out that they're the same person?
I think that's part of this.
Hmm.
I think this is part of why the uprising is happening now,
Hmm.
because the connections have been made, because the right file got found,
Hmm.
because like Jeff was saying, like Stevie was saying, various people doing small things.
Hmm. Sweet. So where do you? Place of power. I mean, it would be City Hall.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be City Hall, right?
Yeah. Which is like a fortress now.
Yeah.
You know, the cops have like shown up. The martial law has been inactive. Mr. Brilliance is conspicuously absent from recent days. Like other supervillains are still been active, but like, oh, we scared away the scariest villain because we enacted martial law. So he hasn't been active as Mr. Brilliance, which is like maybe part of why you like realize, oh shit, that this was his plan all along. But it's like it's swarming with like effectively an army. And last time the problem, you know, like, oh yeah, you saved most of the people on that ship, but he was blowing shit up across the city. You didn't save anybody in that skyscraper.
Yeah.
It's like your regional, your neighborhood. He is global, or he's going global. Like you just don't have the scale to deal with this. This is the problem with grassroots. Is they don't have the backing to actually get things done. And now he's in complete control. You know, this is the mayor who saved Ackerman City. That's shooing for governor or senator or president. Eventually, he'll be the leader of the free world as long as this keeps going. As far as the times you failed, you actually didn't fail that much, right? You only failed the one time, right?
I think so, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yeah, you've had your little victories. It's true that you've had a string of good luck, but you're dealing with provincial problems. Why do you think that you could actually change things at the scale that you need to when you've never been able to before?
Mm-hmm. And now it is my turn to tell the hero what they need to hear, name the people they did save, tell them how they encouraged them and how they made this world a better place, guide them, lift them up, help them carry the weight of falling short so they can stand tall now when they need to most. Let's talk about those little things, right? Let's talk about what brought you to this moment. You are in City Hall, you are staring down Mr. Brilliance. This is the final battle, but like what got you here is pretty significant. Like what got you here is, you know, we see a sequence of police cruisers, of SWAT cruisers barreling down city streets as members of Thought Crime are like causing harmless destruction, but like are running a quote unquote rampage that conveniently runs security forces across the city in a wild goose chase. You know, like we are seeing the political canvassing groups that Charlie has organized, you know, making sure getting people like the support that they need and ensuring that like neighborhoods are protected and people have the food that they need and, you know, lights are kept on, people have access to generators and supplies so that your focus can be elsewhere. There is like a sequence where we get a sequence, you know, we see Stevie as well as several other lab techs like grab their ID cards, swipe in, each enter in a series of keys that activates a glitch in the system so that all of the lights turn out. You know, like we watch we see very specifically like a military security boat like start to enter once the lights turn off. It is like drone operated, and then it just explodes as a bunch of dock workers sit on the dock and eat sandwiches and then shake each other's hands like, Good job. And we even see several, there's like one of the final moments before you see Mr. Brilliance in person. There's a scene, you are staring at a hallway where several of his soldiers have guns, are sweeping, and they all get a ping on their cell phones, and they look at each other. They put down their guns and they go, walk out. And they enact their right as a unified labor movement. They stage a walkout, and so suddenly you are alone with Mr. Brilliance in this moment because of these small actions of a lot of people who you helped, not necessarily through superpowers and violence, but through connection and motivation. And a lot of people did a lot of things to put you in a moment where you can do the thing that you do. So go do the thing that you do. And now we come to you, hero. This is your moment.
All right.
Think about the people you saved. Think about the people that you helped. Hear what the villain has to say. Honor those that you couldn't. Stand tall and describe how you fight and how you win. And then we move on to the end game.
So I'm looking down as I walk along this corridor to the mayor's office in the dark. I didn't mention earlier, but Nyx can see in pitch black. Her eyes do the reflecty thing that cats and a few other different animals do. It's why actually in the art that in the Hero Forge I made in the hero costume, you can see it's got that weird void flight reflect going on in there. But I think about Lewis and the other members of the dock workers local and the electricians local. I think about Charlie and the various people they've introduced me to. I think about Shoot 'Em in the Head Rick and Crazy Eddie. I think about Abed and how fucking good that gyro is. I look down at a sheaf of papers in my hand and I think about the people that I spoke to, that Charlie spoke to, that Stevie spoke to. And I push open the door to the mayor's office and be like, Mr. Mayor, and I slam this sheaf of papers down on the desk. The people have asked for a recall election. They don't want you anymore. And neither do I.
Oh boy. Is that
This is the opener, to give him a chance to react. I'm fully prepared to fight, but this is
yeah. I'm just trying to figure. That's I'm trying to figure out how we get there. I'm thinking how we're getting there. I think he kind of laughs and he's like, a recount. That's your grand gesture. That's your master stroke. Is they vote me in again?
No, Mr. Mayor. A recall. They don't want you to be mayor. They want somebody else. They know that you're full of shit. They know that you're the youngest sibling trying so desperately to make a name for yourself and failing. Because it doesn't matter how big a light you make of yourself, you're still going to be in the shadow of that family name. You're always just going to be the last in a line of Ackermans. And nobody outside of this city gives a shit about them.
Well, he stands up and kind of looks out the window at all the shit going on outside, and he draws the blinds so that it gets a little darker in the room. And he says, well, if I can't inspire them through fear, perhaps the sympathy vote will work. And he hits an intercom and he says, "My God, Nyx is here, and they've Mr. Brilliance. They're in cahoots." And then activates the costume and just attacks you, and is hoping that destroying most of City Hall with you will like cover this up.
I think Nyx just laughs, even as like he's coming at them full pelt. It's just like ducks again. It comes back to that sort of like agility. Like, you thought I was over here, I'm actually over here. It's just sort of like, didn't you hear, Ackerman? They've walked out.
Like, yeah, we see like you look like you look in the like your security cameras, and you see them just like, you see them hands in pockets, like all the henchmen just like strolling out, like chatting with each other, and like walk out.
Sure.
Sympathy's all well and good, but there's got to be somebody to hear it, to witness it. I think it's just you and me.
Well, soon it'll be just me, and I can spin this.
And Nyx does struggle because of like the light. But also the thing about a bright light is it means the shadows are all the darker for it. And if this was a film, this would be a sensory nightmare. This would have so many like photosensitivity warnings. But in like the comic panels of this, I imagine it like flashing between like panels that are incredibly dark and ones that are almost completely washed out white. I watched a video essay on The Lighthouse the other day. I haven't seen it, but when film stock gets like turned up really bright, and it almost goes like photo negative with how much light and dark are into play in this space. But I think at one point, Nyx is going to get in. It might even be a lucky shot, but the Tonfa cracks down on the holographic projector that creates the sun effect, and it winks out. And we're left in the dark for a moment, and Nyx very quietly says to Ackerman, like, they've got their hand in the front of the scene, just like, "Tell me, Mr. Ackerman, are you scared of the dark?"
Probably doesn't answer that.
Oh yeah.
Is that where we leave it? It feels like a good note to leave it on.
Yeah, I'd love to. I think if people are happy with that,
I'm very happy with that as the closing note. Yeah. All right, so very quickly we'll go through our wrap up. We have one final beat each. I will describe how the city recovers from the villain's actions and how the hero's influence makes the world a better place. Zach, you'll describe how the city mourns its loss and the shadow still cast by the villain, and then finally our hero will have a chance to rest. Our city recovers. It is not an easy recovery. It is a lot of like divestment of like, you know, there's been a lot of like moving pieces around. And I think what we see a lot of is, I think this is a city with a lot of work left to do, but the things that we see moving in a positive direction are really things at that grassroots level, like, you know, holding, like, reshaping the world in really positive ways, right? Like, we see a lot more. I think that the big, you know, we see it's a lot of like public works projects really geared towards like organizing for better conditions for people in various capacities, I think is really like the driving narrative of it, up to and including the henchman labor union getting its getting its new contract negotiated, and we see the one beat that I do want to make sure that we see is the election of new henchman union president Crazy Eddie, who has run on a really strong platform and just like really, you know, brought a really strong sense of like where we should be negotiating, not just where we are now, but where we should be negotiating, you know, 5-10 years from now.
Crazy Eddie, he's got his eye on the horizon.
He's been, you know, he's constantly, he's really thought this through, and you know, he's built a sustainable platform. I think that, like, you know, it's the work. I think that the way that I would sum it up is that the work has continued, right? Like Charlie is still doing Charlie's work. The unions are still doing their work, and like the work has continued. Zach, talk to me about the shadow still cast by Mr. Brilliance.
I think, I mean, his last gambit obviously and ultimately failed. He's ejected from office, really. Arrested by the very police that he had hired, because, you know, there's only so much money you can pay people. You can only get so corrupt before you're blowing up government buildings and getting away with that. But he's in the car, the truck, the paddy wagon, being driven to, you know, a moderate security prison, because he is still very rich, and he is still, you know, part of an important family. So they're not like giving him, and he doesn't have superpowers. Everyone has discovered he doesn't have superpowers. And so he's kind of got like a little cushioned seat on it that he's in as he's being driven to a prisoner transport. And, you know, it's the middle of the day, and you take a nap in the seat, and something from the greater cosmos reaches out to you. Whatever is on the dark side of the moon is not the only thing that exists out there. And he dreams of light.
And so our final beat. Now, for an all too brief moment, describe how Nyx rest is how they celebrate their victory, they spend their downtime, how they pay respects, and how they rest.
Nyx isn't a person that does very well sitting still. So we see a lot of them working with union reps, not as Nyx, but as Rhiannon, about like getting to know people and having them get to know her. Because I think there's been this very clear delineation for herself that while she's not going to be like crying from the rooftops, my name is the X and I am Y. This isn't like fucking Tony Stark at the end of Iron Man, like full mask off. But it is allowing herself to participate in the world and the action that needs doing with her whole self, not just a part of herself. But there is a shot, newly restored Galloway Square Park, sitting with Charlie. They've got like a little tray of falafel between them. They're sharing, having some coffee, one with a bunch of creamer, one black with a fuck ton of sugar. And the final shot is like the sun we see behind them, but the shadows of the two extend backwards across the ground, and we just see these two figures close as they are talking about what comes next.
And that is game.
Fuck yeah!
Yeah! That was great.
Hey, Jeff.
Huzzah.
Hey, Jeff.
Yes.
You were a really good game.
This game
my
is good.
guy.
This game is good.
This
It's
is
a
a
good
great game. Oh, thank
Solid
you so
game.
much for coming and playing it with us.
Of course. Thank you both for having me. This was a wonderful experience.
Where can people find you, and where can people get this very good game?
You can find all of my work at jeffstormer.com. You can find me on Twitter at PartyOfOnePod, and you can find Anyone Can Wear the Mask at jeffstormer.itch.io/mask.
Fantastic. I have been Jade. You can still find me on the internet at Jade_Oxford_Rose. And we've also had Zach with us today.
Hello, I am and have been Zachary Fredrickson, found on Twitter at Office God and elsewhere as Zachary Olsen. That's my writer name. Thank you.
This has been Follow the Leader. You can find us on Tumblr. And if you support our Patreon, patreon.com/FTLcast, you can hear all kinds of bonus games, as well as the bloopers and outtakes for this game, where you can hear us talking about superhero media before we got into game. It was a really good conversation. And go get this game and go listen to Party of One if you haven't, because that's a fucking great podcast, and it's a really cool way to hear games and get to know the awesome guests that Jeff has on the show with him.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Alrighty, let's do another clap.
Yes, clap out.
Hi, it's August, and I just wanted to thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed us, please consider leaving a rating on your podcast platform of choice, telling your friends about us, or tweeting about us using the FTLcast hashtag. We are also part of a nonprofit podcasting guild called Standing Stones Productions. We do a variety of shows, including The Room Where It Happened and Dumb Kids Playing Hero, 2 actual play shows, and a Steven Universe discussion podcast called Gay Space Rocks. We also do live streams at twitch.tv/StandingStonesProd. You can keep up with everything that we do on Twitter at Stones_Standing. Unfortunately, Standing Stones was already taken. Your support means a lot. Thanks again!